Morning, my name is Lisa Daisel. I'm from the UNISA Directorate for Counselling and Career Development. A very warm welcome to our session this morning. We will be talking about concentration, how it affects our studies, and also some of the strategies that we can use to get our focus back. So with me, I've got my colleague, Dr. Chipiwa Kurisang. So she will be presenting this to us this morning. Just a reminder to please post any questions that you may have about this topic in the Q&A, and we will then take a look at the questions and try to respond to them throughout the session. We will also then afterwards have a short session where we can take a look at questions we may not have addressed. So thank you very much, Chipiwa. Welcome to this morning's session.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. I think this is the topic that is quite relevant, especially towards the exams. Most people will say that I'm struggling to concentrate. It's very difficult for me to even remember because I can't concentrate. Therefore, it's important for us to reflect on aspects that affect our concentration and also how to manage to concentrate on our work. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. What then is concentration? Concentration means being able to apply all your senses to what you are doing. Some people will talk about being available. Some people will say it's being mindful, because if you are not able to become mindful or being available, where all your senses are focused on the task at hand, it's always difficult to concentrate. Thank you, Lisa. Let's take a reflection. You might need to understand what is affecting how you concentrate on your studies at the moment. What is happening with you that is affecting your studies? Because there is always something that affects us. There are a number of situations or common problems with concentration. Some people will say, I sit for an hour reading my textbook and then I cannot remember what I have read. Another person would say, at first you have to, the answer to that, we could then say you have got a study method problem. You need to consider using an active learning plan to study a textbook by using a study method that works for you, where you study actively with all your senses using pen and a paper and memory skills. Remember, we spoke about with concentration, you need to be available, you need to be engaged with all your senses. Thank you, Lisa. Another question related to concentration could be, I love my music, social media, TV, or any other thing that a person can mention. And most of the time, I cannot leave my music, my cell phone to start studying. That's a common problem nowadays. An answer to that, you have a discipline and a motivation problem. You need to start thinking about using your music or your social media or a TV as a reward after you have studied a planned piece of work. For example, you can say, I need to do a chapter or complete an assignment. Afterwards, I will sit and watch TV or I will be on social media. It's very important to understand that most of us do not cope very well with the double attention or concentration. Therefore, if you are concentrating on music and learning, you sometimes split your attention into half-half or 90-10, depending on how your brain is wired. The most dangerous thing is that you might think you are concentrating on your studies, but you are spending more time on your music. Thank you, Lisa. Another common problem is where a person says, I have problems at home which distract me from my studies. This is a common problem which many students face. And we must understand problems do not go away automatically. This must be attended to. When I look at this problem, I can relate to where I was yesterday, where I was feeling tired. My problem was that I was feeling tired and it was impacting on my concentration. And I needed to attend to my tiredness in order to concentrate this morning, even in this presentation. Thank you, Lisa. There are certain things that we consider preconditions for concentration. In other words, if they are not managed properly, they affect our concentration. The first aspect is time management. You need to plan to study in shorter sessions. Most of us, we struggle to concentrate for long, and because we are human beings, we get tired. Use a weekly schedule to stay focused. Another thing why we need time management, most of us get so overwhelmed when we don't have structure. So time management helps you to contain yourself and to feel like you are in control and you understand where you are going, which helps you when you sit down, you are more calmer and you can concentrate. It's important also to have short-term objectives and being goal-directed. You need to set clear objectives for each study plan or study period. Use your weekly schedule to plan for a specific subject and specific pieces of work to be done. As students, we have got a tendency to overwhelm ourselves because we don't set clear objectives. You just carry your study guides and you prescribe books and you are like, I must finish everything. That would also impact on your concentration because you are like in a race. Another precondition for concentration is a study method. You need to have an effective study method. That means it's a study method which will guide your study and force you to concentrate and to apply the principle of effective studying. You need to then say, this is what works for my brain. That's a study method. Remember, you are training your brain to remember, and you need to have a particular system that helps your brain to understand. It could be making notes, it could be making mind maps, it could be question and answers, but you need to have a particular system that you have surety when you are starting to say, this helps me to remember. Positive and motivated attitude. You need to have a desire to learn and to better your position by studying. Have a positive attitude towards your studies and work for success. Sometimes before you start studying, if you are thinking this will be very overwhelming or this will be very difficult, already that impacts on you. So you need to have a positive and motivated attitude to sit down and study, and also to help yourself understand, I will make it. Furthermore, part of the preconditions for concentration is being emotionally prepared. Not many people can concentrate when they are emotionally upset. The reasons for their emotional state could be domestic problems, financial problems, marital problems, illness, work-related or pressure from family, anxiety about failure. We could mention quite a lot of reasons. Whatever the cause of the problems could be, you need to attend to this if you want to concentrate on your studies. Because remember, when you are not emotionally well, it also impacts on your ability to learn and to remember. Self-confidence is very important. Your sense of belief contributes on whether you are encouraged to sit down and study and concentrate on your work. If your inner voice keeps on whispering, you will not pass anyway, or this is too difficult for you to understand. This will demotivate and distract you. You will find it very difficult to concentrate because all the time you are thinking it doesn't matter. It will not help. things will not change, and you already see the possibility that you will fail anyway or you will not make it, which already impact on your focus to concentrate and your encouragement to just sit and do the work. It's very important that we take care of anxiety. Even though we have got performance anxiety, but if we're really anxious, it becomes difficult when you sit down and study. And you need to think about, what are you worried about? Are you highly anxious about your studies or the assignment? There are people who will say, when I do assignments, I'm not worried. But what happens when I start with the exams, I'm highly anxious, where you start feeling like I will fail, or do I know enough? We must understand that anxiety and stress will impact on your ability to concentrate. What you are thinking about, what makes you worried, the emotional impact also affects part of the brain that you need to concentrate and take in the work you need to do. We can now quickly talk about the concentration strategies. There are general techniques that all of us we could use to help us to concentrate. It's important to take a short break and try a brief energetic walk, a run around the block, a cup of tea, or a short chat with a friend. One day I was talking to another student who said it was difficult for me to sit and study and to concentrate, but I just stood up, went to the bathroom, even washed his or her face, and came back to the desk, and he was able to concentrate. Then the 5-minute rule. This applies when you cannot get started. There may be times when, despite your best efforts, you cannot force yourself to commence your daily study session. When this happens, merely sit down at your desk for 5 minutes with the relevant study material in front of you. 9 times out of 10, you will find that by merely sitting down, you will have overcome your mental block to the work and continue without further difficulty. During the 5 minutes, do some routine tasks such as filing lecture notes, paging through the chapter, and making a mind map. Even though this, we call it the 5-minute rule, part of this is just to force yourself to be where you need to be and to allow your brain internalize that we need to study, and that could help you to overcome the feeling of being overwhelmed. How do we sustain our concentration? Our mind can be very interesting because at times it could decide to wander. When you are studying intensely, you occasionally become aware that you are distracted by something and feel impatient with your work. It could be a distraction just to realize how much you have to do. Set yourself another 5 minutes in which to work. If your impatience still persists, give in to it. Don't fight it anymore. But then take a short break while you physically loosen up. Stand up and stretch, walk around, consciously relax. Some people at this moment, they can use even a breathing exercise or take some water. Leave your study spot for 5 minutes. Get a drink, glance through the window, organize your desk, and start again. You will stay again, even though we have got activities that makes you to go away from your books. We don't encourage you to go away forever. It's just a distraction that can help you to reconnect with your books. Don't then decide it's just too much and you then decide to do other things. Let me rather cook, let me rather watch TV. Be committed that you took that time to sit down and study. When you have been studying for a long time, your concentration is diminished and you can't be rejuvenated by a short break. You need to recharge mentally. Remotivate yourself by reviewing the material you have just covered and to try and get an overall picture for it. This often gives you a feeling of achievement, as well as it reminds you why you are studying a particular topic. Look ahead at what you intend to do next. Preview the rest of the book or chapter, just jot down ideas for the next section or an assignment. Where possible, you could also switch to another subject for stimulation so that your brain does not become stale. Then return to your first subjects or go to the third one. So sometimes it's important that we have variations. If our brains is tired, it also helps to stimulate and to be motivated, and then we can concentrate better. As we continue with concentration strategies, let's look at total loss, review, replan, and relax. You know, it's important that you don't sit and think that you are studying or believing you are studying when you are simply staring at the work on a page. Or maybe you are even sleeping on that page. Or maybe you have even disconnected from where you are sitting and your books. When you repeatedly can't find the words you want, or when your mind is very far away, or your mind is fatigued, when you feel you are losing concentration, it's important to start thinking about reviewing what you have been studying. If your task is part of a large piece of work, think about where the parts fit into the whole and which part you will tackle next. You can also then decide when you will study again, in an hour's time, the next morning, a day later. You still need to make a commitment on when you will study again. Don't just say it's tiring and I can't do it, and you say I will see what's going to happen, because that also makes you to sort of drive away from your studies. It's okay to stop studying and relax. Reward yourself by doing something you enjoy. One of the reasons that we struggle to concentrate is because we are guilt-ridden. We study from a point of guilt, and even when you need to relax, then you start feeling guilty and you can't relax. That has got a detrimental impact on our brain and on our concentration. There is also a technique that most people call it a stop technique. As soon as you notice that your thoughts are wandering, say to yourself, stop. This should make you notice that you have not been concentrating. You should then try to find out why you were not concentrating so that you can do something to rectify the situation. Maybe there is something that is really bothering you, that it needs a phone call, or you need to quickly go and attend to that, and then you can come back. Maybe you are hungry. There are times that people want to study, but they are hungry or uncomfortable physically. It's important that you stop and attend to that so that you can concentrate. As we continue to talk about concentration strategies, we need to think about positive thinking and positive self-talk. If you find that you are preoccupied with negative thoughts that interfere with your attention, you need to identify exactly what they are and change them into positive thoughts. Sometimes the negative thoughts emanate from real life experience, but you can also choose to reframe them into positive things, especially when looking at your books. For example, you might be struggling financially at home. How can you then start looking at you studying as a positive thing that it could help you to change your situation? Let's say you find yourself not concentrating and thinking, this work is so boring. I really don't know why I waste time with it. Think about why this work also empowers you. What do you learn every day as you study? Because that transforms this negative thought into positive. One, by saying to yourself, this work can be interesting. If I try to make it interesting, maybe by the way I study, you can also make boring, difficult work very interesting. I'm going to make a conscious effort to make it lively and interesting. Once you have done that, you will be more motivated and you will find it much easier to concentrate. It is important to note that during this study period, you will need to have constant conversation with yourself. I said to somebody yesterday, when you are studying, look at it like an act or a play. And you need to look at yourself like a main player or a main actor. But this actor needs to be fed, needs to be seen as a main actor who impacts on everything. So our thinking, how we look at our books, can impact on our role as a main actor in the journey of our studies. This is a natural and important process. By talking to yourself, you ensure that your attention is focused on your studies. You can also use a breathing technique. Breathing helps us to relax. Practice relaxation techniques such as breathing or meditation. There could be more techniques related to breathing that helps you to relax. Remember, initially we spoke about emotions, we spoke about a number of things that affects you. Breathing or meditation help us emotionally, help us with anxiety, and therefore it leads to better concentration. Let's just take some time to reflect. What are some of the concentration strategies you are using or that you want to try out? If there is anybody who wants to share, they can share in the chat. Remember, you can contact us at the Directorate for Counseling and Career Development to assist you with concentration or many other more aspects that relate to your studies. You can send us an email at counseling@unisa.ac.za should you need to discuss any needs that you may have in terms of further support. Thank you for being part of this presentation. If there are any questions, we can talk about them. Thank you.
Shipiva, we don't have any questions yet from participants, but I was just wondering where you spoke about, the emotional problems that are affecting us as we are studying. Of course, just because you're studying, your life doesn't stop. And some of these problems are, I want to call them more kind of like long-term problems. So it's not, a matter of you, let's say, for example, you're experiencing problems with one of your relationships. So this problem can't just go away because you are thinking that it must go away. So what are some of the things that we could think about, while you are trying to manage to deal with the impact that this relationship problem is having on your studies? But at the same time, you also need to study. So what are some of the things or the support that we can think about getting in order to manage those challenges more effectively?
Lisa, I'm so grateful you raised this. I think also how you look at the situation. I have been talking to some people this week about embracing my reality. Remember, sometimes if you find yourself in a situation, let's say you have been diagnosed with a chronic illness, most of the time what impacts on us emotionally, it's also living as if I don't have this illness, and that impacts a lot on that person. So one would need support on how to live within their reality. If I've got a particular conditions or a particular situation, how does it affect the number of modules that I register for? But also constant support that you could have a relationship with a counselor or even somebody outside of UNISA who sort of holds you as you continue in this journey of your studies, because you could not cope on your own, where you constantly have this reality or the burden that impacts on you. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much. For now, we don't have any questions, and I would want to acknowledge, of course, with challenges like load shedding, for example, it may have impacted on people wanting to attend the session. So just from my side, I would really want to appreciate those of you who could attend today's session. But then also for those who couldn't, we do post the recordings of these sessions on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and you search for UNISA Careers, you will be able to watch a recording of this, as well as other study skills, as well as career-related recordings. So from my side, thank you very much to Dr. Korisang for also availing herself to talk about this topic this morning. And we will be having another session on Thursday. It will be about exam preparation. So we also look forward to chatting about the effective strategies that we can use to prepare for the exams. Do you have any last comments, Shpiwa?
I think the last comment is just that with anything we need to do and succeed well, even though sometimes we are not very aware, concentration is a major component. Whether you are driving, whether you are cooking, whether you are studying, you need to be able to concentrate. In your studies, it's important for your brain to learn and to remember. The preconditions for that is concentration. So let's really reflect on how we concentrate, the things that distract us, so that we can do well with our career and our studies. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you for everybody.